The sound behind the Keanu Reeves had never thought of himself as someone who lived a grand life. Even with all his success, his fame, and the endless headlines about him, he still loved the quiet moments most. He loved making coffee in the morning, reading in silence, or playing an old guitar in the corner of his room. But what he loved most of all were his twins, a boy and a girl who had become the center of his world. Their names were Lucas and Lily, only 6 years old. They filled his days with laughter, drawings taped to the refrigerator, bedtime stories whispered in the dark, and the simple joy of little hands grabbing his fingers. After years of loneliness and loss, they had given him something no film or award could. A family Keanu knew he couldn't raise them alone. His work sometimes pulled him away, and he needed someone he could trust to care for them when he was not there. So he had hired a nanny, a young woman named Claire. She had good references, soft manners, and seemed gentle with the children. Lucas and Lily liked her, and for months everything had seemed fine, until that one evening Keanu had returned home early from a meeting. He parked his truck quietly in the driveway and stepped into the house. The rooms were mostly silent, except for faint voices drifting down the hallway. At first he smiled, thinking it was Claire reading a bedtime story. But as he drew closer, his smile faded. The voice was sharp, cold. Nothing like the gentle tone he expected. "Stop crying," Claire snapped. "Your father can't always save you. I'll have to learn to listen." Keanu froze in the hallway. His breath caught in his chest. He moved closer to the children's room, his footsteps silent. Inside, he saw Lucas and Lily sitting stiffly on their small beds, their faces pale with fear. Claire stood over them, her hands on her hips, her voice low and angry. "You think just because your father is famous you can do whatever you want?" she hissed. "You think life is always going to be easy for you? Wake up. The world doesn't care about you. No one cares." Lily's small voice broke through the tension. "That's not true. Papa cares." Claire's face twisted, her voice rising. "He won't always be here. One day he'll leave you too." Those words hit Keanu like a knife. For a moment, his chest burned with rage, but his feet stayed rooted to the floor. He watched silently, his mind racing, his heart breaking. Lucas clutched his sister's hand tightly. His lips trembled as he whispered, "Don't listen, Lily. Papa always comes back." Keanu's throat tightened. He wanted to burst into the room to end it immediately. But something inside told him to wait just a moment longer, to see the truth of what was happening when he wasn't there. Claire leaned closer to them, her shadow stretching long across the wall. "You don't get it. You're weak, spoiled. The world will eat you alive if you don't toughen up." Tears streamed down Lily's cheeks. Lucas held his chin high, trying to be brave, but Keanu could see the fear in his son's eyes. And that was the moment Keanu knew. This was no misunderstanding. This was no bad day. This was what his children had been facing behind closed doors. His hands curled into fists. His breath grew heavy. His heart pounded with fury, but also with resolve. He could not allow this to continue. Not for another second. With one deep breath, Keanu stepped forward, his shadow falling across the doorway. "Claire," he said quietly, his voice calm but edged with steel. "Step away from my children." The room froze. Lucas and Lily's eyes widened with relief, tears spilling freely now. Claire turned slowly, her face pale as she realized she had been caught. Keanu's eyes locked on hers, steady and unblinking. His voice dropped even lower, a whisper of thunder. "You have no idea what kind of mistake you just made." And in that moment, Claire's mask slipped, and the truth began to unravel. The mask cracked, the room was frozen. Lucas and Lily stared at their father, relief breaking through their fear. Claire stood stiff, her face pale, her hand dropping slowly. "From her hip, Mr. Reeves," she stammered, her voice suddenly soft, sweet, completely different from the harsh tone she had just used. You came home early. I was only trying to discipline them. They were misbehaving." Keanu didn't raise his voice. His calm was sharper than anger. "Discipline does not sound like cruelty. I heard every word you said. Claire swallowed hard, her eyes flicking nervously between him and the children. Please, you don't understand. They were fighting. I was just trying to teach them by telling them no one cares about them. Keanu's words cut clean, leaving no space for excuses. Lucas clutched Lily's hand tightly. The girl buried her face against her brother's shoulder. For a long moment, silence filled the room, broken only by the quiet sobs of the children. Keanu stepped further inside, his tall frame filling the space. He didn't need to shout. Presence alone made Claire shrink back. "Leave the room," he said quietly, looking at Claire. "I'll speak with you after." Claire hesitated, her lips pressing tight, her hands trembling slightly. She opened her mouth as if to argue, then shut it again. Finally, she turned and walked quickly out, her steps echoing down the hall. Keanu knelt down beside his twins, his voice soft and steady. "Lucas, Lily, it's okay. I'm here now." Lily's tears flowed freely. "Papa, she said you'd leave us one day?" "She said no one cares." His chest tightened. He pulled both of them into his arms, holding them close. "Listen to me. I will never leave you. Never. You are my heart. Nothing anyone says will ever change that." Lucas pressed his small face into his father's shoulder, his voice muffled. "I tried to be brave, Papa, but I was scared." Keanu kissed the top of his son's head. "Being scared doesn't mean you're not brave. You protected your sister. That's bravery." They stayed like that for a long time. The warmth of his embrace slowly pushing away the chill Claire's words had left behind. Later, when the twins finally drifted into sleep, Keanu rose quietly and stepped out into the living room. Claire was waiting there, standing stiffly near the sofa, her eyes darting nervously. "Please," she began quickly, her voice trembling. "Don't fire me. I need this job. You don't understand what kind of pressure I'm under." Keanu's gaze stayed steady. "Explain it to me." She hesitated, then spoke in a rush. I've been sending updates about you. About your house, your life. To someone who promised to pay me. They wanted recordings, stories, anything. I thought I could manage. I thought it wouldn't matter, but the money ran out, and the stress got to me. I took it out on them. I didn't mean to." His jaw clenched, though his voice stayed calm. "You hurt them with words that cut deeper than you realize. Children remember what they hear. They believe it. You made them question love." Claire's eyes filled with tears. Sorry. I didn't know what else to do." Keanu took a slow breath. "You had a choice. We all do. You chose wrong." She lowered her head, her hands trembling. "Please, just don't ruin me. I can't survive another mistake." For a long time, Keanu stood silently, the weight of her words heavy. Part of him burned with anger, at another part, the one that had seen his own share of brokenness, felt the pull of pity. Finally, he spoke quietly. "I won't ruin you, but you cannot stay here, not around them. Their safety and peace mean everything to me." Tears rolled down Claire's face as she nodded slowly. Keanu added, his voice still steady, "If you truly want to fix your life, start by being honest with yourself. Don't ever let your pain turn into cruelty for a child. They deserve better." She covered her face with her hands and sank into the sofa. Crying softly, Keanu turned away, his thoughts heavy, his heart aching. He walked back down the hallway to check on his twins. Both were sleeping peacefully now, their faces calm at last. He stood in the doorway, watching them, silently vowing that nothing like this would ever reach them again. But deep down, he knew. This was only the beginning. Claire's confession hinted at something larger, someone outside these walls who wanted to use his family, someone pulling strings in the shadows, and Keanu was determined to find out who. Whispers in the dark night was heavy with silence. Claire had retreated to the guest room, her sobs faint behind a closed door. Keanu sat alone in the living room, his elbows resting on his knees, his face hidden in his hands. He replayed every word he had overheard, every tear in his children's eyes, every tremble in their voices. He wasn't just angry at Claire, he was angry at himself. He had trusted her, left Lucas and Lily in her care. Now he had walked into a nightmare he never expected. But her confession haunted him more. "I've been sending updates about you." Those words echoed like a warning bell in his mind. Who was she talking to? Who wanted stories about his private life? About his twins? The thought tightened in his chest. He had lived his whole career fighting to keep his life private, protecting the little pieces of peace he had built. Now, it felt like strangers had already stepped inside his home without ever opening the door. A faint sound broke his thoughts, the creak of a floorboard down the hall. Keanu rose instantly, his senses sharp. He moved quietly, his steps light against the wood. It wasn't Claire. It was Lucas. The boy stood in the hall, holding his rabbit plush, his small frame trembling. "Papa," Lucas whispered, his voice thin. "I had a bad dream." Keanu knelt and opened his arms. Lucas ran into them, pressing his face against his father's chest. "What did you dream about?" Keanu asked softly. This voice cracked. "She said you were gone. Find you." And Lily was crying. Keanu closed his eyes, his heart breaking. He kissed his son's hair. "I'm here, Lucas. Not going anywhere. Not tonight, not ever." Lucas sniffled, nodding faintly, his small arms gripping tighter. Keanu carried him back to bed, tucking him in beside Lily. She stirred slightly, mumbling his name in her sleep. He sat by their side until their breathing slowed into calm rhythm again. When he finally rose, his decision was clear. Claire could not stay another night, not even one more hour. He knocked softly on the guest room door. She opened it, her eyes red, her face streaked with tears. "Claire," Keanu said quietly, "you need to leave tonight." Her lips parted. "Please, where will I go?" "That's for you to decide," he replied, his tone calm but final. "But you cannot stay in this house. Not after what you've done." She lowered her head, shame pressing her down. She packed her things quickly, and by midnight she was gone. But as she left, Keanu noticed something odd. She didn't look broken anymore. Not truly. She looked nervous. It's almost as if she feared not him, but whoever had been paying her. The thought stayed with him long after she disappeared down the driveway. In the following days, Keanu kept close to his twins. He read them stories, cooked their favorite meals, and walked them to school himself. He didn't tell them much about Claire's departure, only that she had to go away. Lucas asked, "Will someone else come to take care of us?" Keanu smiled, faintly. "For now, I'll take care of you. That's what I should have been doing all along." But even as he smiled, his mind worked restlessly. Who was behind this? The answer came sooner than he expected. One evening, as he sorted through the mail, Keanu found an unmarked envelope. Inside was a photograph. His heart skipped a beat. It was a picture of Lucas and Lily playing in the backyard, taken from a distance through the trees. His jaw tightened. The back of the photo had only one line written in block letters: "You can't protect them forever." Keanu sat at the table, the photo trembling in his hand. His children's laughter echoed faintly from the other room, fragile sound now overshadowed by danger. This was no longer about Claire. This was about something far larger, darker, and closer than he had feared. And he knew then the fight, too. Protect his twins had only just begun. Asterisk, the eyes out. Keanu sat at the kitchen table, staring at the photograph until his knuckles turned white. The picture was not old. It was recent. The leaves in the yard matched the ones he had seen that morning. Someone had been close enough to see his twins, close enough to press a camera shutter, close enough to slip this envelope into his home. His chest tightened. He had faced fear in many forms throughout his life, but nothing was more terrifying than the thought of unseen eyes fixed on his children. Lucas and Lily ran into the kitchen laughing, carrying drawings they had made. They waved them proudly, their innocence untouched by the danger circling them. Keanu forced a smile, kneeling down to admire their art. "That's wonderful," he said softly, his voice steady even though his heart was storming inside. "Papa loves it." He hugged them tightly, holding on longer than usual. That night, after putting them to bed, he called Daniel, his longtime friend and retired police officer. "Someone's watching us," Keanu said, his voice low. left a photo of the twins. There was silence on the other end, then Daniel's firm reply. "I'll be there in 20 minutes." True to his word, Daniel arrived, his expression grim as Keanu showed him the photograph. "This isn't random," Daniel muttered. "Whoever it is, they want you rattled. They want you scared." Keanu's jaw tightened. "They'll never see me scared. But they won't touch my kids." Daniel placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then we set traps. We watched the watchers." For the next few nights, Keanu and Daniel stayed awake, taking turns by the window, watching the yard. They kept the lights dim, making the house look quiet. While their eyes scanned the darkness, on the third night they saw movement. A shadow slipped between the trees at the edge of the property, tall, lean, moving carefully like a predator waiting for the right moment. Keanu's fists clenched. Daniel whispered, "Don't move yet. I need to know what he wants." But Keanu couldn't sit still. The thought of that shadow watching Lucas and Lily was unbearable. He slipped out quietly through the back door, moving like a hunter himself. Each step silent against the grass. The shadow stopped near the fence, lifting something binoculars. Keanu's blood boiled. "Enough," he whispered. He stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "You've been seen." The man froze, then bolted into the trees. Keanu ran after him, his breath steady, his body fueled by pure resolve. The chase. Cut through branches and dirt, the sound of footsteps pounding in the night, but the man was fast. Too fast, and soon disappeared into the dark woods. When Keanu returned, Daniel was waiting. "He's testing you, pushing your limits. He'll come back." Keanu held up the crushed leaves from where the man had stood. His jaw was set. "Then we'll be ready." The next morning, Lucas and Lily ate their breakfast at the table there. Voices light, their small faces calm. Keanu smiled at them, but inside, he burned with a promise. Never again would fear walk freely into their lives. Later that day, as he picked up the twins from school, Keanu noticed something. Across the street, leaning against a car, stood a figure. Sunglasses, leather jacket, head tilted slightly, toward them. Lucas tugged at his hand. "Papa, that man was near the playground yesterday too." Keanu's chest tightened, but he kept his voice calm. "Stay close to me." He buckled the children into the truck and drove off, his eyes on the rearview mirror. The car followed for 2 blocks before vanishing. That night, another envelope slid under his door. This time, it contained no photo, just words scrawled in thick ink. "Your nanny was only the beginning. You can't stop what's coming." Keanu stared at the note, his breathing steady but heavy. He folded it slowly, then looked toward his twins' bedroom, where the soft sound of their laughter carried through the hall. And he whispered to himself, "Try me." The hidden hand Keanu kept the second envelope in his hand, long after reading the words, "Your nanny was only the beginning. Can't stop what's coming." Oh, the ink bled into the paper like poison. He felt the threat pressing close, crawling into his walls, his routines, his every breath. Daniel came by again that evening, studying the note with sharp eyes. "This isn't just harassment," he said firmly. "It's organized. Someone's planning something bigger. And they've already been inside your circle." Claire was the weak link, but she wasn't the mastermind. Keanu's jaw clenched. "So who is?" Daniel exhaled. "Someone who wants leverage. You're not just a man, Keanu. To the world, you're an icon. People see you as a symbol. Threatening you, especially through your children, is the kind of move someone makes when they want power." As Daniel spoke, Lucas and Lily peeked into the room, holding their sketchbooks. "Papa, can we show you our drawings?" Lily asked softly. Keanu's face softened. He waved them over. They climbed into his lap, showing pictures of themselves. With him at the park, smiling. The innocence in their faces made the danger outside feel even more urgent. He kissed their heads gently. "Beautiful," he whispered. But inside, he vowed again, nothing would take away their smiles. That night, he tucked them into bed and sat awake in the dark living room. Every creak in the house made his pulse sharpen. Around midnight, a knock echoed on the front door. Loud, not violent, soft, deliberate. Keanu moved quietly, every step measured. He looked through the peephole. A man in a suit stood on the porch, tall, clean, his face calm. To calm, Keanu opened the door halfway, his body blocking the view of the hallway. "Who are you?" The man smiled faintly. "Someone who's been waiting to meet you. May I come in?" "No," Keanu said flatly. "Say what you need here." The man's smile didn't fade. "Fair enough. My name doesn't matter."
What matters is this.
"You're in the middle of something bigger than you realize. Claire worked for us, yes, but only as a messenger. There are many more like her. People already inside your life, waiting for our call." Keanu's eyes narrowed. "What do you want?" The man's tone sharpened. "Simple. You give us what we ask and your twins stay safe. You refuse, and you'll never know from where the next shadow comes." Keanu's fists tightened, but his voice stayed calm. "And what do you think I'll give you?" "Your silence," the man replied. "Your cooperation. We'll ask for more when the time comes." Keanu exhaled slowly, his expression unreadable. "Leave my porch now." The man chuckled softly. "Brave words. But bravery won't protect them when we decide to strike." Before Keanu could move, Daniel appeared from the side of the house, gun drawn. "Step away," he barked. The man's smirk lingered, but he raised his hands casually. "I told you. We're already inside. You can't win." He turned and walked calmly into the night. Disappearing as if he had never been there, Keanu's single quotes pondered. But his voice stayed. "Even Daniel, he's not lying. If they already have people around us," Daniel lowered the gun slowly, "then we find them before they move. But Keanu, you need to prepare for the worst." Later, Keanu checked on his twins. They slept peacefully, unaware of the storm tightening outside their walls. He sat at the edge of their beds, brushing a hand across their hair. "Papa's here," he whispered, "always here." But as he looked at their small faces, he realized something terrifying. This wasn't just about intimidation. Someone wanted to break him, piece by piece, through the ones he loved most. And Keanu knew. The final move was coming soon. The vow unbrokenth night after the suited man's visit, Keanu barely slept. Every sound made him rise. Every shadow looked like a threat. He sat near his twins' door, listening to their soft breathing, as if the rhythm itself could keep him steady. At dawn, Ukase padded out in his pajamas, rubbing his eyes. "Papa, why are you sitting here?" Keanu smiled faintly, pulling him into his lap. "Because I'm watching over you and Lily." Lucas pressed his head against his father's chest. "You don't have to. We know you'll always come back." The words pierced Keanu's heart, both healing and breaking him at once. Ways, he thought, no one will ever take that from you. That day, Daniel returned with news. He had traced Claire's payments. It came from a company that didn't exist, just a front. Behind it was a man named Victor Hale, a businessman with a reputation for shady dealings. He had tried for years to control parts of Hollywood, buying secrets and silence to gain leverage over stars. "He wants you because you're untouchable," Daniel explained. "He thinks if he can break you, he can control anyone." Keanu's eyes darkened. "And he made a mistake coming after my children." That night it happened. A power cut. The house went dark, silence swallowing everything. Keanu moved quickly, grabbing a flashlight. Lucas and Lily woke, their voices trembling. "Papa, Keanu whispered, lifting them into his arms. "Stay quiet. Stay close." Daniel, already on alert, slipped in through the back door, weapon drawn. "They're here," he whispered. Shadows moved outside the windows, figures circling, their steps crunching softly on gravel. Keanu's heart pounded, but his voice was calm for his twins. "It's all right. Papa's here." The door burst. Open. Two masked men stormed inside. But instead of panic, they were met by steel resolve. Keanu stepped forward, his children behind him, Daniel covering the rear. "You won't touch them," Keanu said, his voice low, unwavering. One man sneered. "Hale sends his regards." They lunged. Keanu moved fast, blocking one, forcing him back into the wall. His body wasn't fueled by rage, it was fueled by love, by the unshakable will to protect. The other was stopped by Daniel, who held his ground firmly. Within minutes, the intruders fled, retreating into the night. Outside, police sirens wailed, growing louder. Daniel had called them earlier, knowing the attack was coming. Soon Hale's men were caught, and days later, Victor Hale himself was exposed. His network of lies and threats unraveling under investigation, peace returned to the house. One evening, Keanu sat on the porch with Lucas and Lily. The sun was setting, painting the sky in gentle colors. Lily leaned against his arm. "Papa, are we safe now?" Keanu smiled softly, kissing her hair. "Yes, little one, you're safe. And you'll always be safe with me." Lucas looked up, his small eyes serious. "Because you'll never leave." Keanu's throat tightened, but he nodded. "Never. That's my promise." The twins smiled, their fear finally fading into trust. Keanu watched the horizon, his heart calm. He knew shadows would always exist in the world, but he also knew this truth. When you stand firm with kindness and love, darkness cannot win. And in that moment, holding his children close, he felt stronger than he had ever felt before.